Welcome to Doing Marketing Differently. I'm your host, Kathleen Selmans. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Amplified Now, a video-first content marketing strategy company that helps you get a lot of content created and then get out of your own way to do so. With me, I have Corey. Corey, do you want to introduce yourself and your company?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you hear a baby giggling in the background, our babysitter fell through, so we're just going on the fly. I'm Corey Nichols. I'm the founder and CEO of Yes Like Financial, which I would just refer to as a boutique financial advising firm. There's my wife. So we are trying to change the perception. Oh, that's actually true. We're just trying to change the way that financial advisors actually operate.
And how do you do that?
So the big way is to remove conflicts of interest. So, the typical financial advisor who is only really equipped to help typically high income or high net worth individuals managing money, or what ends up happening for the vast majority of middle of America is that they have to go through a financial advisor that is selling some sort of product. So that's life insurance or annuity. And there's just a conflict of interest inherently about what's in the best interest of the client and what's in the best interest of the salesperson or the advisor themselves. And so what we've done is we've just created a monthly subscription that allows the client to have a direct compensation. So they're paying me directly. And then that way it removes as much as possible. I don't believe that there's any way to eliminate all conflicts of interest, but it does eliminate the vast majority of them so that we are much more aligned about what our goals are. As long as I'm continuing to serve them, they'll continue to pay me, I'll continue to put food on the table for my family.
What kind of people do you work with?
Oh, so I actually love and hate this question all at the same time.
High net worth individuals, super rich people, already.
Yeah, so I'm much broader, right? So I would say that I'm not this isn't a guess, this is known. My clients have incomes between $30,000 and $450,000. Net worth everywhere from -$225 to $4.5 million, right? So it's a very wide spectrum. Now I would say that obviously a normal distribution, there's just very few people at both ends of those scales. The vast majority are somewhere in the middle, but a lot of dual income, young families, mostly because that's what I am, right? I've got 3 young kids, 6, 4, and 1. And so as a result, the people who relate to me or know and trust me typically look a lot like me, right? They're at that stage of life, they're in their early mid-30s, they've got some kids that are kind of in that peak part of their career where their income is growing pretty substantially. So that's kind of where they are in general.
Cool.
My oldest client, I think, is 72. My youngest client is 19. So I've got the full range, but
you imagine being a 19-year-old thinking, having your stuff together enough to be I should talk to an advisor. Imagine how much farther ahead we'd be now.
I was just having this conversation earlier today. The only frustrating thing about working with 19-year-olds is that they think that nothing is going to change. They're all I spend $1,100 a month, and that's all I'll ever spend. And I'm no, because mom still pays for your auto insurance and you still have your parents' health care. And you can save a crap ton of money right now because you're only halfway adulting. It's going to get a lot crazier. And so trying to get them to save a lot of money then because it's going to not be as feasible in the future. So it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Again, if you're 19 and you decide to work with a financial advisor,
you're fine. You're going to do just fine.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it's very fun to compound your investment accounts when you're 20. You can compound them for 40 years as opposed to talking to a 45-year-old. I got 15, maybe 20 more years of compounding going. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Numbers. Thrilling.
No, I think it is. I think I'm looking back at my 19-year-old self, she could have used some advice.
The problem is it does get a little bit too hypothetical. When you talk about age 60, it doesn't actually feel like it's ever going to be a reality.
Right.
So it's hard to make it so the 20-year-old feels relevance in what they're doing. So
So I assume you don't have a ton of 19-year-old clients. We can move on from that question. So
yeah, I have very few. I have one that's specifically 19. and they are an outlier. I would say everybody else, like I have a couple, maybe they're 20, and as it goes, more they're 22, 24, so on and so forth. But kind of that peak, I would say the vast majority of clients fall between like 28 and 38, probably the biggest group.
And then, so how do people find you? Like, do they come to you with a bad taste in their mouth? Like, oh, you're just going to sell me products, or you're going to take 1% of my entire earnings or whatever. Like, how do people find you now? Where are they in the world?
Yeah. So I came from the traditional, like wealth management world where it was like dial the phone 40 times a day, X number of people are going to answer, X number of people are going to set a meeting. Like you're just in that grind. And I hate that, right? And so my whole thing was I'm going to build a business that self-feeds business to me so that I don't have to do that. So I would say the vast majority of my business at this stage comes from referral. Before I actually had a client base that was referring in clients, the vast majority of it came through Instagram. So I've really focused all of my energy from a marketing perspective historically on Instagram. And that's been my number one source of business.
Okay, hold on. I feel like we found the meat of this conversation. Did you say that Instagram got you financial advisor clients?
Yes, Instagram.
That's amazing. I work with a couple of financial advisors that don't think that Instagram is worth their time. Can you talk a little bit more about why they're wrong?
Yeah. Do you know who has Instagram? Everybody has Instagram, right? So you can pretty quickly subset this out and if you're looking for my father as your client. My father was a great client, right? He's 62, he's retired, worked for 35 years, fairly sizable. He'd be a great client for the traditional financial advisor. Doesn't have an Instagram. Why are you going to play in the game where everybody else is already playing, right? You don't have to go there. You go to Instagram. Our generation is on Instagram. They're finding it through friends who are recommending. It's a much more natural conversation for Kathleen, for example, to say oh my God, here's a killer piece of content from Corey. It acts as an endorsement without Kathleen being this is my financial advisor. We just had a conversation last night about my finances and now I'm recommending it to you. So it's a much more natural progression. And by the way, I told you that whole net worth of all my clients. Those people come from Instagram. It's not like Instagram is only for broke 19-year-olds. People who have money use Instagram.
I love this. I love that you're thinking about Instagram as its own content creation. I love that you're focused on Instagram in a way that a lot of people just aren't. Because I agree with you. I've done a lot of content strategy for the financial advisor world, where when I ask who's your competition, they always say Fidelity. I'm like, well, you're never going to outrank Fidelity on anything. I would argue that they're probably not your competition either, but that's a different conversation. When you're thinking about your content mix on Instagram, are you thinking more about teaching people why they need an advisor in the first place? Are you doing overarching personal finance topics? How do you get them to convert?
Yeah, so tons of personal finance content, right? I think that I'm a big believer that you can give away every piece of knowledge you've ever learned, right? Or that you have, and people will pay you to get on-demand access to that knowledge. So the reason somebody pays you is not because you shared the tidbit and they have to get the rest of the information. They pay you because I don't want to sit here scrolling through all of Corey's content to find the one thing that's relevant in this moment in my life. And, I just want to go pay Corey, what's the answer, right?
That's so cool, Corey. I love your approach. I love that it's working. I love that this is really doing marketing differently. So way to go, hitting the nail on the head for the topic here. Where can people find out about you?
On Instagram.
Great. What's your Instagram handle? And we'll link to it wherever people are.
You're going to yell at me, probably, because this is not good marketing. My Instagram is Corey_Nichols. I also would say if you search Instagram for Corey Nichols, I'm probably going to be the top result. But it's Corey, CORY __Nichols, NICHOLS. Follow me on there. Engage and comment on every piece of content I put out. Share my posts.
We will. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. very much appreciate this conversation. I love the idea of thinking outside the box, even for a profession that doesn't often do that.
It makes it easier for those of us who do think outside the box. So thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks, Corey.